Hey everybody, I'm Zach. I'm with the organization called GallantFew, and this week it's my turn to host this week's Leader Chat. So I am very fortunate and very blessed to have this opportunity to influence our community with my almighty and wise words, but which are very few, I guess. Anyways, this week y'all are in for a treat. We have a very, 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 very close friend of mine and a very big supporter and member of GallantFew. So, Dr. Joey Kramer. Joey, introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, guys? How's it going? Dr. Joey Kramer. I am an Upper Cervical Specific Chiropractor here in the, what would that be, Northwest area. I'm in Southlake, but we don't serve really Southlake. We serve the surrounding community. It's a pretty great, small practice, really focused on helping individuals navigate chronic health conditions that are not responded well to traditional medical intervention. How about that?
Right.
Does that work?
And for those who don't know for those who don't know where Southlake is, it's in the a little bit west of the Dallas-Fort Worth Airport in the DFW area of Texas. So
a mile and a half away from DFW.
Yeah, not far at all. Actually, where I live, I'm one bridge away from the airport, so I have all these planes always flying overhead and whatnot. Yeah. So eventually, you get used to it, and it's kind of like soothing almost.
I think Southlake tried to pay the airport off and to keep from planes flying overhead.
They go around it.
Go around the city.
God, that extra like 200 gallons. God, man, no wonder the costs went up over here from the DFW area when it comes to flying. But all right, let's get into it, Joey. So Joey, we know you just mentioned that you're an upper cervical chiropractor.
Sure.
First off, let's see how did you get involved with GallantFew? I know it's been, I think, a little bit more than 2 years now that I've known you. Yeah, that's what it was. My brain sucks at times. My memory does. But so how'd you get involved?
I started out with a introduction through a guy named Ross Patterson. Ross Patterson is a small business coach out of Grapevine. He runs a business called Excellent Performance. And he likes to say there's two types of rangers, a smart ranger and a strong ranger. And I'm pretty sure Ross was the strong ranger is what he likes to identify himself as. Given his size, I would go with the smart ranger, right? That'd be my opinion. But looking at that. So upper cervical is unique, right? It is for everybody, but it's not for everybody, if that makes sense. It's a difficult chiropractic technique. Not every practitioner offers it, and it's a very unique technique that helps a very specific set of clientele. So I was having a conversation with Ross, and it was in regards to typical client that walks into an upper cervical office, and I was mentioning to him that a lot of my patients are traumatic brain injuries, and he was like, "Oh, you need to meet Carl. Carl works with GallantFew," and I was like, "Okay." So I sent Carl an email, and he goes, "Hey, why don't you come to Rotary, and then we can have a conversation there." And so I ended up going to Rotary in the Metroport group. He got me to join that group, and then we had coffee afterwards and started to have conversations about GallantFew, what it does for the community, really his brainchild behind it, how he invented it and what happened with it. The first conversation he had with his partner up in Kansas, who gave him his first donation, to where he's led the organization to today, to the thriving, business model it is. So
that's awesome. And I know you kind of went a little bit more above and beyond with the I don't want to say the average supporter or anything does. I don't want to say that, but necessarily, but like I know you start really participating in the local things that we do with GallantFew. I mean, you are. I know maybe scheduling wise is a little bit conflicting now, but I remember for 2 years or so, you were climbing with us on a routine basis. So for those in Dallas-Fort Worth area, we GallantFew, we go rock climb over at Summit Climbing Gym in Grapevine off of 114. And Joey, I call him Shrek. Because Joey is the biggest, kindest guy ever I've met in my life, and he's a hell of a climber. So when you see him on the wall, people always talk smack about Joey. Oh, Joey's a big guy because he won't be able to rock climb. No, that's not the case at all. He's a better climber than I am. He's holding on to his tiny little holds and whatnot. But
I want to say better than you, dude. Come on.
I don't know. Maybe I think okay. How about we're better in our own areas? I think maybe you might be a little bit more ballsy at times. I think that maybe
I would take that one. That's fair. I just think it's fun.
Yeah.
I mean, it's, I was talking to Carl one time, and I might have been talking to you about this, and I think it's fascinating because a common theme that is built is loyalty and trust in the GallantFew organization, right? So if we're going to be working with someone through a challenging phase of their life, they, one, have to trust you, and two, probably have to have some type of loyalty to each other for a commitment perspective, right? So if you're going to help someone talk through suicidal tendencies, you have to have some, a lot of trust with that person. So what I think that the rock climbing did for me was learn more about the trust that you have to have in another person. So if you're going to be lead climbing and that person has to literally have your life in his hands while you're climbing, it makes you learn a little bit about trust, and that people really aren't bad in general. Most people want good to be done. And so that's where I love with rock climbing, because it was this moment of you go up the wall and you fall and somebody catches you, and then you get back on the wall and finish your route. Then you come down, then you have to help that guy go up the wall, right? And it's this give and take that you work through that helps you build confidence.
Definitely. No, I agree. I know. I think I don't want to say how many times. We'll just say it only happened one time. I know Carl and I, we climb, pretty often, and we do this type of climbing. For those who don't know, it's called lead climbing. So as you're going up the wall, you have a rope, you drag it up, and you would clip it into a quick draw, a carabiner, basically, that's already into the wall. And there's been a couple of times, or there's been one time. Let's just say that there's only been one time that Carl has fallen. Huh?
Where I almost died, or where he almost died?
No, Carl's climbing, and just because when you brought it up, and it kind of just popped in my mind, this little memory. And Carl was kind of climbing this difficult route, but he fell. But as he was falling, it was instinctual for me, like, hey, I need to make sure that I'm taking care of this person. And so I, immediately did what I was supposed to do: take a step forward, hold that, that death grip behind my back, and I caught Carl. And I think that's something that, and actually, I think I've caught you a few times as well. Maybe one, not so much falling, but like as far as like giving you putting that tension on the rope to where you're held in place. But I agree. And not only with just rock climbing have a very significant input into trust and loyalty, but actually your line of work, right? Because some people think, oh, chiropractic care, I'm not going to go because I hear all these horror stories and whatnot. And so when you are giving these your patients adjustments, they're putting their loyalty and their trust in you, saying, hey, like Dr. Kramer, okay, you do the scanning process and say, okay, you need an adjustment on your left, right side of your upper cervical neck, and then they put their trust in you to do the adjustment, right? And and it's great because I've seen you do. I've heard you do. I haven't seen it, but I heard you do your warm-ups, and I think that's really great because that emphasizes the loyalty and trust that not only that you have with your patients and they have with you, but the loyalty and trust that you have within yourself to do the right things, to warm up your wrists, because I'm pretty sure it puts a lot of stress on your body. But how about this? Let's rewind a little bit. How did you get into upper cervical care?
It took me a while to find an answer for you this. And I think the best one I've heard is, you guys know the therapist Brene Brown. Mm-hmm. She does big TED Talks, right? And she has a statement that says, if you cannot measure it, it doesn't exist. Right. So I think that's probably one of the most scientifically, philosophically oriented discussions that could actually lead to really helping people understand chiropractic care. I think a lot of the fear people have is that it's, voodoo, or it's hocus pocus, or it's, how do you know that there's a problem? I think that's really a majority of I would say the mainstream media or the mainstream society has this beef with chiropractic because they don't understand the abstract nature of the care. So going through it, I started to fall in love with neurology. I think neurology is really a fascinating subject. It's really cool to go through and navigate. And in it, you measure. Everything you do is measured. It's all evaluated and measured. So our focus is on neurological performance. And you're able to measure that graphically. So when you have somebody come in that says, hey, I've had 5 traumatic brain injuries in my life. I now have headaches, migraines. I can't sleep. I have problems with testosterone and my body is falling apart. How can you help me? You can say, well, your neurological system is in a state of chaos. And here's this graph that shows us that it's in a state of chaos. So there's actually some type of measurement that can validate the work. And then once you give an adjustment, that chaos should no longer exist. So then you should be able to measure pre and post a change in a human being's physiology. Does that mean a symptom is going to go away right away? No. But if you go to the gym tonight and rock climb with me, I haven't been on a wall since COVID started, I probably would fall on a 10A like 80 times, right? But that's to show that I haven't put the dedication into it over this season of life that we're in right now. But I do know that you would recollect a series of health after, let's say, 4 or 5 times back at the gym, you'll probably be back on the wall climbing. So not just one adjustment, but making sure that you're clearing the neurological problem to allow better expression of health. So that's how I got into upper cervical, because for me, I wanted tangible. I wanted to be able to see it, know it, feel it, touch it, breathe it, know that what I'm doing is actually making a difference in that person, and not just because I said so, right? So that goes back to the loyalty piece, right? And the commitment, because now it's like, oh yeah, I helped you get better. Well, how do you know you got me better? Well, the bone popped, right? Okay, well, I can crack my knuckles. Does that mean I changed your neurological state? No, right? There's a big argument there that has to come into that understanding of people need to see change, and it reinforces, one, the doctor's message, and two, the actual proof in the pudding that you're actually making them a better person. So
definitely, and I agree. I mean, I don't know if I was necessarily skeptical, because for those who are watching right now, I wasn't skeptical because I've been to a couple of chiropractors before, and I don't know, excuse me for my terminology, Joey, but like it was basically more of a generalized chiropractor. So they are adjusting my whole spine, anything from my sacrum, sacrum to my and every one of them were a little bit different. They had their own techniques, but there was always they always typically had that table that when you put pressure on it, the middle part would drop and they would adjust whatever part of my back. For me, being a grunt, and those again out there watching right now, you know, not just grunts, but people who were in the military and carried heavy packs, and you went for miles and miles and miles and miles. You know that the wear and tear that it could be put on onto the body, and especially sometimes when people's their figures are, we're military. It's the biggest melting pot of America. It is America's melting pot. America is one melting pot, but the military, it's even more, I don't know, a more dense melting pot. But when you have these different, what?
More concentrated.
Exactly. Yes. There you go. Very much so. But when you have these different sizes of people, but they all have to carry the same amount of gear, you can get these stresses on the body, which eventually I call the grunt body, because you're carrying heavy loads for a long time, and you learn to, hey, if I lean forward a little bit more, it takes the stress off my shoulders, or if I lean back a little bit more, it helps my abdomen or something like that. And I realized that my back was having a lot of problems, and so I can say that, I don't want to have necessarily a selling point here, but the upper cervical care that you've helped me provide, that you provided for me, has definitely helped with my neurological functions. I know I have been diagnosed from the VA and other private care with 5 to 7 traumatic brain injuries, and the neurologists have all kind of came to that generalized conclusion. No one's giving me an exact number, but it's 5 to 7, and that comes from the gunfire, the explosions, being rocked around in a vehicle, and it's actually very comparable to football players. And I think now there's a bridge that's been relatively recently established, maybe the last 5 to 10 years now, recently established between veterans and football players because of the traumatic brain injuries. And I know upper cervical care has really reduced with care and with, I don't want to say like stretching and stuff, but like, the things that you say, hey, make sure you're hydrated, make sure you stretch, or you do these things. The post care, I guess you could say, make sure you're doing these things. It's definitely helped control and mitigate the amount of effects that traumatic brain injuries have affected me with. And so, again, I mean, I don't have a selling point necessarily. I don't want to, hey, make sure, let's have a big flashing banner. But that is something that upper cervical care has done for me. That's been a big game changer compared to generalized chiropractic care.
I think it's interesting because if you were to compare it, there was a comparative study done with ESPN, and they took some of these guys that had the football players with the traumatic brain injuries, and they compared them to veterans, and they did something called a upright MRI. It's called an fMRI, functional MRI. So basically you sit up and the MRI runs around your head, right? and they're evaluating for cerebral spinal fluid circulation. So for all of those who don't know what that is, CSF circulates the brain. It's responsible for nutritional exchange, waste out, nutrients in, right? That's what it does. Similar to blood in the rest of the body. When you have a TBI, it changes your upper cervical dynamics, which changes the way cerebral spinal fluid flows in and out of your neck. So these people with these traumatic brain injuries, be it veteran, be it a football player, be it a grandma who fell downstairs, if they have a traumatic brain injury, there's going to be a change in CSF fluid and how it flows into your brain. So what they did is they pre and post adjusted the patient, took an fMRI and showed the change in cerebral spinal fluid, and there was a drastic improvement in circulation. So that's why you see the changes, right? So the specific, upper cervical has been around since 1918. So it's been around for 103 years now, 102 years, what we've been through. 102 years, right? The guy started researching in 1918. He really came out in 1935 and said, this is it. This is the thing to do. And there's people throughout the entire world who benefit from this. So I'm just a unique body in Southlake. This is throughout the world, right? Carl texted me today and asked me for somebody in a different state, right? He was like, hey, you know anybody in this state? And I was like, yeah, let me give you a number. So
yeah. And that's great. I want to kind of come back to GallantFew. I mean, that's how I think that's something that Carl and I have experienced with your care. Again, I'm not trying to have a selling point, but I think it's, having that more of a holistic approach rather than, hey, my neck hurts, let's pop some pills, or, let's do some injections or anything like that. I think that personally, me, I don't want to speak for anybody else. Personally, me, I think the holistic care has shown its worth. And I've been to chiropractic care, Upper Cervical Chiropractic Care with you. I've also done, recently I did acupuncture for the first time along with cupping, and that was an experience within itself. And honestly, I think just with those two combined efforts, I'm seeing a significant improvement in my own personal health, not only so much physically, but also mentally as well. And when those two are synced with each other and they're going, hey, they're what we call in Marine Corps with machine guns, called talking guns. So you have this constant firing between two weapon systems, but at the same time, they're synchronized. And with my mind and my body synchronized in care and whatnot, my life has improved dramatically. My anxiety from post-traumatic stress, my sleeping has improved, my anxiety has dropped dramatically, my depression has gone away. But it's finding that and being proactive in the care of chiropractic care or acupuncture or any other type of holistic care. That's kind of something that I've really experienced and I love. I definitely think
because it's 2 of your 5 points on your star for GallantFew. Mental health, emotional health, right? Physical health, right? Those could be 3 actually, because financial, emotional fitness, mental fitness, financial fitness, physical fitness, right? Each one of those things come into this play. Spiritual fitness is the last one, right? So you're talking about 2 points there: mental fitness and physical fitness. I would put emotional in there also. So 3 of them. And it's fascinating because what you're targeting is that health overall experience is multifaceted. Not just me is going to solve your problem, and not just acupuncture, and not just a financial counselor, or not just going and working out at the gym. It's a combination of all things that presents to make you a better version of yourself. And if one area of the star falls apart, the other 4 are going to suffer also. So that's what's awesome.
I love
your network.
I definitely love that the way you put that right now, Joey. But the great thing is, I know I went through a little of a rough time, rough patch in my life, which is common. And actually, I think it's almost even healthy to go through these difficult times, because you grow. Like you taught me and whatnot. And you coached me through these times in the past, month or so ago. And it's allowed me to grow and allowed me to become stronger. And it's kind of funny, like you see that one meme. It's kind of funny. It's a little off subject, but it says I'm tired of things. I'm tired of things making me stronger. I wish it would just kill me, but it's a joke, because you see a dog, and dog is it's a pit bull. Its dog is completely shredded, and he's looking at the camera like he's exhausted. But I just thought it was a funny meme. But I think the idea that what you're saying is right. I mean, if one of the points the star falls, the whole star could fall apart. It's essentially all connected with each other. I mean, we have professional, social, emotional, physical, and spiritual points of our star, which stands for self-training and responsibility, which is Dr. Stephen Covey's a route, but then Carl, he withdrew from it and he applied to the veteran community. And it's something that really stuck within me. But I think that one of the great thing is, I mean, when you have all these points connected, I think personally centered is that network. When you have that support system, when you have somebody, hey, look, I'm really struggling right now. And it might be, in our case, it might be a veteran who has post-traumatic stress, who has traumatic brain injuries. Maybe this veteran has survivor's guilt and whatnot. And at that point, it's like when they reach out, especially within the GallantFew network, it's so amazing, it's so positively reinforcing to see how the GallantFew network can help one another. Not necessarily like not a monetary gain, nothing professional per se, but at the same time, it's like, dude, I'm here for you. Well, I don't care if you served in World War II, in any war up to post 9/11 or anything, peacetime, wartime, combatant, non-combatant, officer, enlisted. Just like with our rock climbing, you've been there. There's been no discrimination whatsoever within our community, within the GallantFew community. I don't care. You served the military, you did your time, and great. Come on, let's go. Let's continue this camaraderie, let's continue this brotherhood. So I think that's really great what you said, and how when you have everything, if one falls apart, it all can fall apart. But at the same time, it's all connected within the GallantFew network, and we're here to support each other. You supported me in various ways, and I think at the same time, I mean, when you supported me, there's times when I supported you when you're rock climbing. Hey, you want to climb another wall, and cool, let's go, clip in, and then get on that wall. I know it's actually been a minute since, and you said the beginning of COVID. We're looking forward to getting you back on the wall.
March 3rd. I haven't been on a rock wall since March 3rd.
That's 4.5 months, man. Dang. Yeah. I started climbing, and just recently when the gym allowed, the gym rules kind of relaxed a little bit. And I'll tell you what, man, like there's like a 10C that I felt like it was like a 13A or something like that. I was like trying to get my hands on. Oh man, I'm hurting so bad when I climb. I get home, I'm just like, I'm all sweaty. I'm just like laying on the ground. But what do you think? How about this? Let's get the question out there. What do you think rock climbing has done for you, Joey? What climbing with the GallantFew crew?
Stress management, problem solving, anger management, relationship building, trust. What else do you want to know? I think the biggest thing about it for me, so I'm a small business owner. For any of you guys out there, I think a lot of veterans are small business owners. You have a lot of stress, and you carry the weight of the world on your shoulders because you have to, one, take care of your business, and two, take care of your family. So you could have a bad week in business and then be worried about finances on the backside of your family, and you have no outlet for that, right? So there's often many times I've come in and gone into climbing right away and started climbing pretty angrily, like I think anger climbing, if that's a thing. I don't know if it is.
We'll trademark
anger. Right? Anger. It's like footloose anger dancing, right? Throwing the dance fighting or whatever it is. Who knows? But Carl is like, what's wrong, right? Like there's often a moment, or you like, what's up? Like what's going on? Because obviously you're not thinking. You're obviously like you're mad. Yeah. You're way out there, dude. You're pulling, ripping yourself up the wall and just not actually using technique or actually being focused on what your route is. You're trying to be like PK and pull yourself up the wall like you did a million pull-ups, right? Like that's it. So I hope he's watching. Blur that part. I can give him some crap. So there you go. But the big one is that it allows you to, one, work through stress, and two, work through problems. So oftentimes what I found is that, let's say I'm having a problem that I'm trying to work through. When you go and you have to apply your brain neurologically, here we go, into let's say a 10C, where you're trying to figure out how to move your hand and your foot to clip into a rope so you don't fall 25 feet off the wall, you're going to, your brain in the background is working through other problems that are going on in your life, whether they be relational, whether they be business related, or whether they be emotional or spiritual, whatever you got going on that time. And sometimes what I find is that when you get through that route, you kind of have a breakthrough, and there's kind of some things that might, come to terms with peace, or you might find the next logical step to where that, okay, when I leave here tonight, I know what I need to do with that. Right. So you're already you're in that zone. You've moved beyond it. So
I think one thing, again, to bring up, and what I like to do is I like to try to not to be conceited or self-centered or anything, but I like to use myself as an example, because I think I can, along with other veterans, but right now I just want to kind of say an example, is I was going through a hard time. And with post-traumatic stress, I talked to somebody that I respect a lot. And they told me that a veteran with post-traumatic stress, or just anybody with post-traumatic stress, anything else that they experience is a lot more, is sensationalized a lot more. So it might mean, like, let's say a breakup happens with a couple, with a veteran and maybe his girlfriend, and or excuse me, a couple that they both do not have any post-traumatic stress or traumatic brain injuries or anything like that, and the emotions are kind of difficult, right? But let's say this is what happens. This is the level they get at this high, right? And then, but a lot of times with veterans, and because maybe your amygdala has reduced, or maybe it's increased. Maybe your CS fluid in your brain isn't flowing as well because you have TBIs, and you have other things. Maybe you have flashbacks, nightmares, whatever, and you break up with, or you have a divorce, or a very, very just ugly split. And instead of it being this much, it's sensationalized. And when it's this much, it's consuming your life. And I know one thing that you said to me a little while ago was, it's just a moment. And that, for whatever reason, stuck in my head, because at that point when you said it's just a moment, my whole life, like, I put on basically a timeline, and I realized, like, maybe I'm right here about, I'm around my 30s or so. I'm not saying how old I am, but I'm around the 30-year mark.
Baby.
If you can guess, baby. If you can guess my age, message me and I'll send you a free leather product.
There you go.
Just kidding. But at the same time, I realized, there you go. It was one of my first ones ever. Wow. And it was one of the, just a moment, that quote stuck in my head, and that statement stuck in my head. And I thought about it. I'm like, you know what? This is just a moment. Like, I have hopefully another 40 years left on this earth, so I can raise my daughter, have her grow up to be a successful, beautiful woman, and hopefully I can teach her right. And same thing with your kids. But at the same time, it was just a moment. And I think that's something that the veteran community really needs to maybe take into consideration, because whatever hardships the veteran's dealing with, whether you're homeless right now, whether you're stuck in another state with no money, no food, no gas, and you have 2 little kids with you, I hope that these veterans are just, are taking basically your words and really just, taking it all in, saying it's just a moment. This moment sucks right now. I totally understand. This moment sucks right now, but it's just one small moment in your life. And once you get past this, you can have the potential to have this amazing, successful life filled with hope and purpose. The mission of GallantFew. And GallantFew is, we're here to help out in whatever capacity we can. Of course, we're going to, same thing in the military, and same thing with you with your college education and being a business owner. Just because you want it doesn't mean you're going, oh, there you go, here you go, on a silver platter. Here's a small business, and you're now successful. You're a millionaire now because you're a small business owner. It doesn't come like that, right? You got to work.
You didn't become a Marine overnight.
Exactly. It was an arduous process, very arduous.
I imagine there's many just the moments you had during morning PT where you're like, oh my God, I have to do push-ups again. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, definitely. Yeah. And then and for me at least, when you thought boot camp was done, like, oh, finally, like all the BS I'm done with, and man, boom! It's like that other meme. It's like when you're this person, and then it's like, okay, once this is gone, once this person beats me up, I'm done. I'm good for life. And then behind that person, there's even a bigger person. And behind that second person, there's even a bigger person. So that, I understand that concept, and I think I had to go through that phase of my life to understand that there's always going to be something that's going to happen, and it's allowed me to grow. It's allowed me to get that thicker skin and whatnot. But at the same time, it's allowed me to experience life and to learn how to enjoy it now. So I think my experience with Afghanistan have really humbled me. But I know is there anything we want to say to that? Because if you have anything to say to that.
I heard something interesting on a podcast one time, and it was the analogy of EAT versus ETA. It's a psychological process. I think what you're talking about on this is the difference between a reaction and a response. So a lot of these guys, they have something happen to them, and you have a response ingrained in your body, and you just you react, right? Bam, you're just like, okay, so I got yelled at. What do? I yell louder, right? Or my kid acted up. What do? I yell louder at the kid, right? You have these things when necessarily you don't respond to the emotion. right? So in the ETA, emotion is what triggers you, right? So right now, COVID-19 is emotionally triggering the daylights out of everybody. The choice is the thought and then the action, or the action and then the thought. So if you EAT, you emotionally get supercharged, you take action, and then you're like, oh crap, I have to think about that. And like my buddy used to tell me, he goes, Joey, you're the guy that'll just pull the samurai sword out, cut the guy's head off, and then go, I didn't ask him any questions, right? Just because, yeah, exactly, right? So that's what happens. So then you have to figure out how to, one, emotionally respond by thinking about it and then taking action, right? Is this then actually further the mission of GallantFew or not, right? By me doing this, is this going to lead to me being a better version of myself? Or is it going to cause me to blow up and end up potentially in a bad spot, right? So that's why I think about what you're discussing is it's an emotional growth that allows you, one, not to have thicker skin, but to be more conscientious about how your decision tree goes. So are you thinking or are you just acting?
Dang. Some very, very deep and wise words from Dr. Kramer over from Hope Chiropractic. Now I really take it seriously. I'm not joking around. I take it seriously because I agree. I definitely agree. You said some very.
Dude, COVID's making me so angry. Like I get so mad. I had to log out of all social media. 2 weeks now. I haven't been on any of it. I've been off because it's so divided. The country is there is no hope in the posts that are being construed. It's you support Trump, you support Biden, F you, blah, 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 right? And there's none of this, like there's no holistic conversation. And I thought to myself one day, this conversation, if it was had in person over a beer, would never be done this way. Like ever. In my life. Like there is no way, this keyboard warrior would never talk this way to me, and I would never talk this way to this guy. So that's why I logged out, because I was like, it's better for me to pick up a phone and call you and have a conversation than it is for me to get all erratic with my words on social media. So
yeah. No, I definitely like that too. When it comes to social media, it's sad to see. I see several people in my, and I try to stay away from anything political like that, unless it's just a funny little blip. I mean, I might like it, or I might, very rarely do I ever do it, but I might repost it or something. But I think it's kind of sad to see as many of my friends on social media saying, hey, just cleaned out my friends list. And I'm like, okay, I mean, if that works for you, then that works for you. Good. But at the same time, it's very sad because maybe 10 years, it wasn't like this at all. And you have a wide variety of factors that are affecting the American population. And it's sad. And so it's very easy. I personally think it's very easy to get sucked into any of the mentalities that are going on right now. And like, okay, I'm going to stick to this side, or I'm going to stick to this side, or this side, or this side, or whatever. I think it's very easy to get into that. And my daughter, at times, she maybe your daughters do this as well, but my daughter, she's very, very cunning and very clever. She'll find a way, and she'll come up with an excuse about something, right? And when she comes up with this excuse, she thinks it's her way out, her tunnel out. And so I say, instead of finding an excuse not to do whatever I told you or not to figure out a solution, why don't you think the other way? Find an excuse to get the job done. And then her mindset has changed a little. So it's small things. It's small things. I mean, for example, if she's throwing a fit because she wants to play on the phone and it's not working, or if I'm like, okay, fine, like I told you to clean your room. And maybe instead of throwing a fit about it, saying, hey, I don't want to clean my room. Okay, well, it's more the mindset of I want to play on the phone. So what do I need to do to play on the phone? Which encompasses GallantFew's functional emotional fitness training that we offer. But and at that point, she's like, okay, I want to play on the phone. I can see myself playing on the phone. There's the imagery. I see myself playing whatever video game on my dad's phone. Okay, great. But how do you get from point A to point C? I got to clean my room. So let me clean my room real fast and get it done. And I think personally, maybe that mindset can be applied to the generalized American population. Instead of saying like, what excuses can I find to divide myself from my friends or families on social media or even a personal relationship? Instead of finding those excuses to divide yourself, I think maybe some people can ask themselves, what do I need to do to unify us? And it's sad. I think. What was that?
So that's a good answer.
What'd you say?
Find a way to unify. Find an excuse to unify, right? Find that excuse. right? Instead of slicing each other up and, cutting people down, find the excuse to build them up, find a way to make them a better person, right?
Definitely. And I think, I mean, it's so easy to succumb to negative energy. It's easy, right? Oh, my life sucks. Oh, I'm a bad spouse. I'm a bad husband, bad wife. I'm a crappy mom, crappy dad. And, it's so easy, I personally think, to dive down that rabbit hole. But what do you think, Joey? What do you think is something that people can do to help improve their lives and to change that mindset and alter it from a negative mindset into a positive mindset? What do you think people can do?
Unplug from media, reconnect with people. I mean, that's my biggest thing I'm telling people lately is, it's really hard because, the media has done a very good job of dividing us from face-to-face interaction, right? They've done a very, very good job of keeping us from meeting as people. And I think one of the biggest social constructs that we have to rely upon is face-to-face interactions with human beings. Like, just that's my biggest champion flag, if I could say this to people, is don't isolate. That's one of the worst things you can possibly do, especially in this time right now when stress is so high that you need to find a group of people that maybe you just go through this whole thing with, right? I have a group of friends that we've gone through this whole thing since March with. I mean, we've been together the whole time, but I've had human interaction that has been face-to-face. I find often that if you are stuck on your phone or stuck on the iPad or on, Facebook or Twitter or Parler or Snapchat or TikTok or Bing Bang or Kling Klong or whatever you're on, right, that you have removed that human element of your life. And you don't have it. It's easy to swipe. It's easy to scroll. It's easy to like, to dislike, to thumbs up, to thumbs down, to basically unfriend, unfollow, to desensitize yourself to a person, right? And so I always think that, what would I say to that person if I was meeting them face to face and they came up and their Facebook, like their post came out, right? I wear a mask because everybody, blah, 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 right? You're just like, golly, wow, hey, calm down, man. Like, you don't need to yell at me.
Okay.
Yeah, we don't need to yell at each other. What is this? Like, what are you guys doing here? So my biggest thing on unifying is face-to-face interaction, talking to people, right? Some of us don't have that option. So I have a young patient of mine that he is scared to death. I mean, the guy will not leave his apartment except to come in here and see me. So I told him, I said, if all you're going to do is come in and see me, then I'm going to tell you to come see me once a week because you need human interaction. You're not allowed to not come in. You need to come sit in here and hang out with us for a couple of hours because you need to have social engagement with people, because there's something to be said of that, right? There's something to be gained from, one, seeing a person, two, letting them know that you care about them face to face, and three, letting them know that they're valued in this life. Because I think social media takes away from the value of life, and it just removes us and takes a computer AI generated world that the story being sold to you is based upon the number of likes you've clicked and who you click on. So some algorithm.
No, I definitely agree. I love that. That's awesome, especially those 3 key points. I know humans are just like horses. We're not just like horses per se, but we're pack animals, right? We thrive when we are in a society together. And there's a book that Carl, him and I, we read a chapter a week. I mean, he read it many, many, many years ago. And it's called 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. I'm sure you might have heard of it maybe once or twice, maybe.
Done the training and read the book.
It's an awesome book. And one thing that I took from it that I really, it's just, again, like what you said, it's just a moment. Same concept with this part of this book, and it just stuck with me. And it's basically said, when you have to do something and you really have to get it done, it's not so much the discipline that it takes to get it done, but it's how meaningful and how much of an impact it is on you to get it done. So for example, for me, I think my coworkers, and they know that I hate early meetings because I'm not a morning person. That's just not me. But at the same time, it's not just the discipline to set my alarm clock at 6:45 in the morning to wake up, but it's how meaningful those meetings are to me, because I know when I contribute as much as I can to the generalized GallantFew community, we're not bettering ourselves per se. I mean, on a smaller scale, yes, we are, because we're working as a team, all that stuff. You have all that team efficiency. But what are we doing? We're bettering the veteran community, because we're putting our minds together and saying, what do we need to do to help Jane Doe, John Smith, whatever. And it's kind of basically, again, what you said. I mean, it's not so much the discipline of it, but it's how meaningful it is to you to get that job done.
Sure.
But Joey, we're coming up on 40 minutes now. Let's wrap it up, man. What parting words of wisdom would you like to instill within the GallantFew community?
I like to tell people always, this is my biggest message, is don't lose hope, right? Hope is the guiding factor of our life. That's if you talk about spirituality in any way, hope is that something is better the next day, right? So while today may be just a moment, tomorrow you never know what's going to come of it, right? So There's a lot of darkness in the world right now. We have a lot of people that are suffering. We have a lot of fear, and don't give up. But that's what I've been telling people: is never give up, don't lose hope. Because if you can hold on to hope and you cannot give up on your mission and keep on trudging forward, no matter how dismal the environment is, there is going to be a light at the end of the darkness, right? And that's what's going to come. So COVID is what COVID is. It's here. It's impacting all of us. You can't escape it. It is now done. It's done what it's going to do. So it's your choice with how you choose to engage after this. And
I love that.
You can choose to lose hope and be surrounded in darkness, or you can choose to find light. And if you find light, it's going to be hard, but you have to do it, right? Or otherwise you're going to be stuck where you are. That's it. You're done. So that's my biggest message to everybody: is don't get caught up in the drama and try to fight like hell to get out of the darkness. Because if you stay there, it sucks. It's not a good place to be.
Find the light. You said that, and that's what's gonna stick in my noggin. Find the light. I really love that. It's short, clean, and simple, and effective. That's kind of what my mantra is. Just keep it simple, stupid, and I think you understand me better than I understand myself. And so you teach me these small little courses. It just gets stuck in there. So I love that about you. All right, everybody. So again, Dr. Joey Kramer out of Hope Chiropractic over in Southlake, Texas. If you want to connect with Dr. Kramer, you have questions for him, or you have anything, maybe anything chiropractic related, or you just want to talk with him based off of this meeting, go ahead and message GallantFew, and then we'll get you connected. And at the same time, Joey, I want to say thank you so much, man, for joining us on this conversation. And I hope that I know I'll personally be hanging out. We hang out a lot, but I know I hope that we can continue with these leader chats and have you involved with us more. And again, I appreciate everything that you do for us, and especially the veteran community, and for our fellow human beings as well. So taking care of them and help guiding them to a healthier lifestyle. So thank you.
Awesome. Thank you.
All right, everybody. Okay, well, that concludes this week's leader chat. I believe next week we have Carl. Maybe, I can't remember off the top of my head, either Carl or Tony. So let's make sure you stay tuned. And if there's nothing else to say, then make sure you to be brave, be bold, be gallant. Thanks, everybody. See you next week.